Shall we do this? It's time.
All right. Coming at you live from the My Insurance Group Network Media Room. Did I get it right? I got it right.
Yeah. You got it right.
So last week, nobody introduced me. I was very sad about that. But I'm going to introduce John Hanson, Handsome Hanson of the My Insurance Group.
And we got the one, the only lone Dr. Mike William Litwin in the house.
In the house on the Homes and Homies podcast. And you got your host with the most.
Ernest
Thomas.
The Face Enriquez.
And we have
You
a
got
special
it.
guest.
Special guest, Adam Hetrick.
All right, super
Of the
excited.
Credit Up Club.
That is the official intro to the Homes and Homies podcast.
I'm sorry. Let me redo Adam's. Adam, the credit repair man Hetrick.
That's what I'm talking
That's
about.
much better.
That's a lot better.
Yeah.
I almost left.
I know, it's like there was zero enthusiasm. I'm sorry. Zero enthusiasm.
Mwah, mwah, mwah. All right, so credit. It impacts a whole lot of your life. Your insurance rates,
It does.
credit card rates, interest rates. Can I get a home or not? So let's talk credit.
All right, let's talk credit.
There's a lot of myths and stuff out there.
Right. Well, and Mike deals with it on the mortgage side, day in, day out. I deal with it on the real estate side when Mike calls me and tells me they cannot get a house.
Can't do it. They're
Can't
a credit
do it.
criminal. They're born to
They're
rent.
users and abusers of that number. So
And I'll get the question, why is it so expensive? Well, they don't have good credit.
The actual area is look at your credit score. That's
Yeah.
one of the factors.
good.
It is weird because with insurance, it's like it's literally proven. There's been some companies that have gone out of business that tried to just rate on houses and not credit. And I mean, credit is a good indicator of your responsibility.
Because credit is a behavior.
Yep. So there's 42 states that allow them to use your credit score in determining your insurance rates. 8 states do not
Let me
allow
guess.
for that.
New York, California, Washington.
California is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
And then there's a separation. Some allow it for homeowners. Some allow it for auto when the policy's written but not on renewal, and some allow it for all three stages. But the facts, I just researched this like last week on auto insurance. Good versus bad credit score is almost like $3,000 a year.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
Wow.
I almost fell over when I saw the difference, and they had it state by state, good versus bad. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow,
That's huge.
crazy how big that number was.
So that tees up a question that I have up there, which is how to become a credit expert. Like, how does that journey start? Like, where did that journey start for you? Was it in the financial industry, and then you're just like, hey, I absolutely love helping people fix their credit so that they could achieve whatever their goals might be, but how do you become that credit expert?
So there's lots of people online that say they sell courses to be credit experts. That wasn't my path. I actually started as a loan originator back in like Litwin.
Back in
So we can expect
Yeah,
Mike
like-
to be a credit repair specialist here.
Honestly, you don't have a choice but to learn credit in our job.
Yeah.
It's part of the job.
100%. It's part of the job.
So you started off as an LO, and what kind of led you into that field of credit expert?
Yeah. So back in 2005, I was an LO. We went through the Great Recession and all of the banks closing and merging and so forth. And I got a job with a startup company that had a contract for Realtor.com. And we would get 100,000 applications on our website a month.
Wow.
And they were all credit denials. I mean, every single one of them was a credit denial. So we started looking through the denials and seeing whose credit we could fix to try to get loans to make it. And that led to seeing an opportunity, right? I listed out all of the things I thought that I wanted to partner with somebody, and I listed all of the things that they had to do for our relationship to be successful. And I couldn't find anybody that met those requirements that had a price point that I thought the consumers could pay. So we made the jump and I started the credit repairman back in 2011. And then I just started consuming all of the credit knowledge possible. There's a lot of information you can get from FICO, from the credit bureaus themselves, and some credit experts that are worked at the credit bureaus and at FICO and stuff that put out really good information. So we started going to seminars and conferences and meeting with people. And even to this day, continuing education isn't required, but we do it constantly. So we are up to date and relevant with everything that's happening.
Yeah, because I mean, you see like all the time, or I hear all the time, people saying, "Hey, like I met this credit repair specialist through Instagram or Facebook," because it's just all over their feeds, and you know, you're always curious as to like what that process is, you know, as far as like, well, how do I can I remove late payments? Can I, you know, remove unpaid debts? Like, what's the process to that? Which is kind of a question, you know, what are the top credit issues that you've come across, kind of like as your credit expert or throughout this journey that you've had? Is it, you know, late payments, unpaid debts? Is it kind of an equal balance amongst all those, or what's the like top credit issues that you see most commonly?
It used to be collections. Collections was the biggest thing that we would see time and time again. Post-COVID, the biggest thing we see are late payments. People that are late or rolling late for one or two months and kind of rebound. A lot of people are struggling financially, and their credit reports are reflecting that. In March, the average credit score in America went down for the first time in like 20 years.
And what is that average? Like 680, 660?
And I think it was like 721.
Oh, wow.
Is what the national average was. But it had never gone down. They keep doing things and changing like the way credit scores are calculated, and they keep changing the game.
Yeah.
To try to raise people's credit score. And even with all of that, we're still seeing a decrease in credit scores right now.
So let's make it the best of it. So a credit score is designed by companies to give lenders a objective gauge on which a client is going to pay back their debt. So there's different models, and it was designed, I think it was the 80s, by FICO.
Mm-hmm.
That's a FICO score. So banks would have a gauge to look at to see a more objective way to grant loans.
Right.
And from there, it's mushroomed into this monster multi-billion-dollar industry.
You actually have a really good knowledge of that, Mike.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
You hang out with Mike for a little while, and he's just like, yeah, ketchup was made in the medieval times to disguise the taste of rancid meat.
Here's one that Mike knows: is where was chocolate originally created, or where did it originate from?
Oh, I don't know if I know that one.
You know it.
I know it.
You told it to us last time. Was it chocolate or was it a cake?
Oh, I did the cake. I did German chocolate cake.
The German
chocolate
but
cake.
the chocolate itself,
It wasn't actually from Germany.
So,
we
guy's
learned
last
things
name
on this
is-
show.
It wasn't.
No.
Where was it from?
Texas.
Okay.
The guy's last name is German.
That's almost deceptive, though. Right?
So
anyway, I'm not done yet. So my problem now is that the credit bureaus have become greedy and powerful. I mean, they're selling products to consumers to boost their score, which they regulate and they tweak to make it better. And they sell all that data to third parties, and they've gone so far beyond their scope of what they were designed to do.
right.
You are 100% right. Last year, the credit bureaus were trying to start their own credit repair companies, right? We want people to pay us to fix reports that we put issues on, right? So we can make more money.
See,
They get paid from everyone, though. They have their hand in everyone's pocket.
So my issue with the credit score has been is always two sides to the story, right? The first is the person that uses and abuses credit and, you know, lets things go to collections. And then you have the person who has no credit and has been, you know, a cash funded person throughout their life, now wanting to go and get a home loan. And they have a 500 and 520 credit score because of lack of credit, right? Like, how do you fix those issues, like with somebody like that?
So that is the customer that the legislature and the law and all of the regulatory agencies, that's the customer that they're concerned about and that they're trying to help. So they make the people that make the credit scores, right? Credit scores either come from FICO or Vantage. FICO is a separate company. that uses the credit bureau's data to calculate a score. And the credit bureaus decided, like, we don't like paying FICO all this money, so we're going to make our own version. And they do, and it's called Vantage, right? So there's two products that get that get people their credit score. And that's where they're able to manipulate things. So they put out a new credit scoring model every year, like Ford puts out trucks. And they say they're like, oh, this is the best, and this is going to help these people not have these credit problems. But it only matters if the banks buy and adopt those credit scores.
Right.
So, for example, mortgage. Mortgage pulls FICOs 2, 4, and 5 between the three credit bureaus. Those credit models were made in like the year 2000 and the late 90s. So any press release you see in the news has zero impact on it. So you see like, oh, we put this so people that don't have credit will get a good credit score. But it doesn't mean anything because nobody looks at that credit score. They look at the score that they bought 5 years ago to use.
So the system, in essence, is designed to keep people in debt, right? Because in order to have a credit score, you have to have have to have used a line of credit somewhere.
Credit, which is debt, we look at your past performance on debt.
Yeah.
So if you have no debt for which us to base a score, you're a zero. It doesn't mean you can't get credit, but we're not going to give you the best terms. We're going to make you jump through more hoops.
Right.
Or you can fix it pretty easily in 60 days by getting a credit card and paying it on time.
So by going,
it's not hard, but to show responsibly behaviors with what you're given.
Right.
But if you don't have a score, it takes 6 months for a score to show up. So an account has to report 6 times for that score to appear.
Super little cool hack though.
That's a gem right there.
Yeah,
Wow.
the super cool hack though is
The authorized user.
call call mom or dad that has a Macy's card for the last 20 years and be like, hey, so could you just add me as an authorized user as long as they paid off and they made
And they're in good
on-time payments and good standing. Yeah.
You're suddenly a 786.
Yeah. It'll go from like no credit to like, oh wow, you are a badass.
this dude's awesome.
We tell people that all the time to get an authorized user.
Yeah.
But to use it in the short term, not the long term, right? So you use the authorized user to then get approved for your own credit card
Right.
and your own thing, so you don't have to rely on it in the long term. But in the short term, it's a great plan.
We call that a credit crutch.
Credit crunch. So I know we skipped over it, but what is a credit score and why is it important? And we may have answered this already, but
I feel like it just got answered.
you think?
It did.
I think we answered the heck out of that one.
Yeah.
The definition is trying to predict the likelihood that you'll go 90 days or more past due on that specific account in the next 24 months. So it's not trying to say like, is this house ever going to get foreclosed on, right? It's just trying to say, in the next 2 years, do we think that they'll go 90 days or more delinquent?
Interesting.
I mean, it's a future predictor.
Right.
It's the tea leaves, reading the tea leaves of this guy going to pay his bills. and the further out you go, the less certain it's going to be.
Exactly.
Jobs, people get sick, get hit by a car. Who knows?
Yeah.
Interesting. So what is the repair process? Let's say somebody comes to you, has a 520 credit score because they've used and abused that credit line and a bunch of late payments. What's the repair process? And Mike, the kind of piggyback question is, once it's repaired, how long do they have to wait to get into a home once they have that score?
Well, go with the repair first, then I'll finish that up.
So there's really 2 types of customers that come to us. There's a customer that had an incident that happened, right? Job loss, divorce, illness. Those are the big 3. Those are like a period of time where something traumatic happened, somebody's budget fell apart, and they incur a lot of delinquency.
Right.
That customer is typically a faster return customer, right? They tend to have less amounts owed and less accounts that are derogatory. Mm-hmm. The other type of customer is somebody who's just was never taught about credit. They don't know. They just have 5 to 10 years worth of delinquency and derogatory and a lot more accounts. Those customers it's a longer road, because it's not just about fixing their credit, it's about fixing their mentality. It's
Right.
about fixing kind of like their belief system on believing like, hey, you have to pay for that couch that you're sitting on. You can't
Yeah.
you can't just sit there for free. Yeah.
I mean, so in California, you can.
You totally can in California.
You can get away with a lot in California.
You could just take it to any house you want
Yeah.
and just stay there.
So that repair process, right? They go, you identify their bad debts, their collections, you advise them on how to get those cleared, whether that's sending letters, I think is like the most common method, right? Is sending a letter to Experian or TransUnion and kind of, I guess, questioning them on whether or not it's a valid dispute.
Correct. So we use the Fair Credit Reporting Act and a couple other laws, but we use really old laws, right? Stuff that was written in the 80s and the 90s. And so it's very specific. It uses very specific language. So we send letters through the mail because that's what the law said that they have to do.
Right.
And the consumer has the most amount of rights when they follow the law to the letter of the T. So the Fair Credit Reporting Act says that everything that a company reports has to be 100% accurate. So that's every piece of data. And if you've ever seen a credit report, if you've like checked your credit yourself at like annualcreditreport.com, there's a lot of data for each account. I mean, there might be 50 or 60 data fields that they're populating for every single account. So for them to report it, every single one of those data fields has to be accurate and verifiable, because something different in one field can cause a different credit score.
Right. So they report, let's say, a late payment the wrong month.
Correct. So those are things that we identify and that we try to challenge. So what we do is we like to compare the three credit bureaus to each other. And we're like, okay, so Experian said that you were late in January, but Equifax said you were late in February, and TransUnion said you were late in March.
Right.
Like, so which one is
accurate?
it, right? So that means that one's right and two are wrong.
Right.
So that's something that we would start the dispute process based off of.
Yeah. And I ask these questions because we have a pathway to home ownership. So I'm licensed in Texas and in Washington as a broker. We have a pathway to home ownership where we have a credit repair specialist up in Washington who we send all these people that are creditly challenged and need that assistance. And that's kind of the entire process that they go through is get those credit reports, get them to the credit repair specialist. They start sending out those letters and trying to get these consumers that are putting these bad marks on these people's credit to respond. But I guess where they're seeing more luck up there is in non-responses, because when they don't respond, technically Experian, TransUnion, and I think Equifax have a legal obligation to remove those remarks, if I'm not mistaken.
You're 100% right. That's really what you want, is you want to ask them to verify something that might be a little more difficult to verify. So instead of like checking in the file cabinet right here, they're like, oh, that's an archive, right?
Yeah.
We have to do a lot more work to get the answer to these questions. And if they run out of time, it comes off the report. Well,
and I think when you send that letter to them, they're less likely to do the legwork to go see it or find it wherever it might exist because of, I'm going to say, lazy workers.
It kind of depends on if you currently owe a balance or if you don't own a balance, or if the account's open or if it's closed. If it's a closed account and you don't owe a balance, or it was already charged off and sold to a debt collector or something, that creditor doesn't gain anything by responding to your dispute. If anything, it costs them time and money to respond to your requests. So they're more likely to remove it than an account that you have open or that you actively owe on.
Right. So we're going to put that program together here, Mike.
Well,
that's news for you.
So I got Macy's. Just pick the random one. Charged off account. They sold it to Las Vegas Funding, my least favorite collection agency ever. And I challenged Macy's. They said, we're just too damn busy to look it up. So they write it off. It's gone. But now Las Vegas Funding still has it.
Correct, yes.
So how do I get Las Vegas Funding to talk to Macy's saying, we're out?
So they won't, right? Las Vegas Funding will dig their heels in and they'll say like, no, we bought this account from them. We own this account now. So now you have to go after Las Vegas funding. Because when they buy accounts, they don't buy like all of the account. They don't buy like, okay, give me the payment history and the application and a full accounting, right? They buy a spreadsheet that has, 10 variables on it, right? Your name, date of birth, social, how much you owe, how much was charged off, and so forth. So when you start demanding documents, they're often not able to produce those because Macy's isn't willing to find them to give them to Las Vegas collection.
And isn't there a time contingency in there as well? So like if Macy's held it for 5 years and then Las Vegas came and bought it, right? Las Vegas funding came and bought it. They still only have technically 2 years to collect on a 7-year debt.
Correct. That's one of the
technically.
I was gonna say that's kind of one of the most common issues that we refer cases to attorneys for is them re-aging the account. You're like the amount of time that something should stay on your credit is 7 years from the first payment that you missed, right? So that date of first delinquencies, the date that first payment became 30 days past due, that number is always changing, but when it changes, it's against the law.
And if Macy's already wrote it off, technically Las Vegas funding trying to collect on something that's already been written off is illegal, isn't it?
No, because they bought that from Macy's, right? So
Gotcha. Yeah.
Macy's wrote off, call it $1,000, and they sold it to Las Vegas collection for $30.
Right.
Right. So Las Vegas collection is gonna report it on your credit and maybe send you a couple of letters. And a lot of that, especially old debts, they just hope that you apply for something and somebody like Mike tells the person that they have to pay it off.
Dude, you gotta go tackle this.
It's a big business doing that.
And in your mindset, like Mike telling somebody to go pay something off, you would probably say, well, hold up real quick. Before you pay it off, if this is in collections, you need to have in writing that they are going to remove it, because even paid off debts, they don't technically remove. They just have it labeled as paid in full or whatever status they want it to be labeled as.
Correct. It's really hard to get them to agree to a paid in full letter, or to a deletion letter. Like, we'll delete it if you pay it. Most of the collection agencies, if they won't agree to that, what we do is we'll tell the customer to settle it, and then we'll just come and dispute it after the account is paid and zero balance, and it comes off again. Because, again, if they're not making any money on it, and all they have is potential costs, they're a lot quicker to remove it from your credit.
Right. So somebody comes to you, they have bad credit, they go through all those processes, you get their credit cleaned up, they're now at a fabulous 620 and can go and qualify for an FHA loan. Mike,
fabulous
what do you do at that point? Like, is there anything special? Is everything, do you have letters of explanation still that you got to go through with underwriting? What's that process look like?
That's way broad. I mean, so all 620s are not equal.
True.
Some 620s are like, yeah, that's really clean. I mean, that's probably in a couple months are going to be probably 680, 700. Where other 620s like, well, I can't believe you're 620. So it just depends. I mean, there's a lot of different stuff that goes into that.
Right.
So I can't. I might need a lot of explanation. I might need nothing. Just depends.
Makes sense. But it is. I mean, once they have the score, technically you could work.
Game on. It's game on. As soon as you're 620, whoosh, get shopping. Yep. I mean, it depends on the program. I mean, we're down to 580 on some of them.
Right.
So it just depends.
580, 10% down, whatever it might be.
I mean, VA, 580, no percent down. I mean, it just depends how you're doing it, what you're doing.
Call Mike at Thrive Mortgage.
If your credit really sucks, call Mike. If you don't really make that much money and your credit really sucks, make sure you call Michael William Litwin.
So kind of topping off and putting the cherry on top with credit repair, what are some resources that you'd recommend to listeners out there watching today? Where would you recommend going other than, and plug your details too?
Oh, yeah. So we offer a DIY credit report or credit repair platform. So we have an option where customers can just pay for their credit reports and the AI powered system will do everything that we used to do for them. So it's an inexpensive way for somebody that wants to tackle it themselves with their own resources. You can see that at creditupclub.com. There's also full service options where some people say they just want to pay for they want to pay an expert to do everything for them. If somebody has bad credit, I'd recommend a couple things. The first thing is get a copy of your credit report. Don't use the one that you get on Credit Karma, but sign up for some type of credit monitoring service that gives you all three of the credit bureaus, that gives you more of a report so you can see truly what's on the report and what people are saying, because you want to look at each of the accounts to see, pay close attention to the dates.
Yeah.
Everything is about the dates, like when the account was open, when it was first delinquent, when the last late payment was, those types of things. So pay attention to the dates. And there's actually a FICO has a program where they'll give you free FICO scores.
Nice.
FICO.com/free. And you can sign up and they'll give you a free FICO 8 score and free credit monitoring through Equifax. Those are both good, really, really good resources to start with.
Gotcha. And here in San Antonio, somebody locally, how do they find you?
The Credit Repairman or Credit Up Club, and we're all over online.
Perfect.
All right, so let's just say there's some bad companies out there that do credit repair.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about those a little
Let's
bit.
do a hypothetical.
No, I appreciate this. This is
Lexington Law or somebody of nature out there. They charge a lot of money on a monthly basis, and they don't really do anything.
Yeah, we see that all the time. And you mentioned Lexington Law. So they were the 500-pound gorilla in the room, right? They were the largest credit repair company ever. They just got, they think it's shut down. They got a $2.6 billion judgment against them, and they're all but out of business. I mean, I don't know how you survive a $2.6 billion judgment. But it's because they were doing things like that, like just getting people on monthly programs and not fixing your credit. You see that a lot with a lot of other.
I mean, they're
credit repair
incentivized to not
companies.
do their job.
Yeah.
The longer I can keep you paying my monthly fee for fixing your credit, the happier I am.
Yeah. It's
a broken system.
It's a broken system.
And then if you default, I'm reporting you.
I don't like your payments. I'm putting an extra bad
There
one on
is
there.
that perspective too, right? Like people sign up thinking that people are going to protect them, and then they just go use and abuse. And here, Mike, I got a new collection. Go ahead and remove it for me.
Yeah. We see that all the time. Like people will send us medical bills.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, this is like a current bill, and they're like, yeah, but help us dispute it because I'm not going to pay it. And you're like, but it's like not even due for a month.
It's a bill.
You got to wait till it goes to collections.
Did you get treatment for that? Yes.
Yeah. Doctors, they're the ones that are, they're just not going to get paid anymore. I mean,
Well, so the law of unintended consequences. So Congress said, well, medical bills, people get hurt, so you can't make them pay. So what do doctors do now? They still have bills to pay. They have employees to pay. So now you can't be seen unless you pay up front.
Right.
You can't do anything until you pay up front. So it's just...
I mean, that's the problem with our health industry right now, though, is everything's so stinking expensive. Copays are going up left and right. Premiums are going up left and right. Emergency room visits are going up left and right.
Well, and what's crazy is, so I spend a lot of money on health insurance. You spend a lot of money on health insurance. And I have a good plan. I don't want to blast them, but Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas, it's one of the better plans out there. It's a PPO. It's got a pretty low out of pocket
per se,
right? But you start doing the math, and so I know some people that one person doesn't have insurance, right? And they really hurt their hand. They went to the ER. They had it fixed. They ended up only paying less than $1,000 for 2 surgeries and the ER visit and all this other stuff. And you're
That's
just
one month premium.
And you're just kind of like, holy shit! Like, I had a bad stomach bug, and my wife and my mom made me go to the hospital, which I was super pissed off. It cost me $2,500, and I'm like, Wait,
with insurance, yeah.
what the, like, they just ran some tests.
Yeah.
I'm like, did you just charge me $2,500 bucks for this?
I have Blue Cross Blue Shield, and I have a high deductible plan. And when I go to the doctor, I ask for the cash price up front because it's almost always like significantly cheaper for me to just pay for a visit out of pocket than it is to go through the insurance. I mean, it's crazy. I'll get like, it's $5,000 one way and it's $500 the if you have cash today, like they'll take it for nothing.
Yeah. I know. I mean, kids are kids, right? Like they're falling and stuff. But and that's not even why he went. He went because he was sick and he had hand, foot, mouth, and took him to his regular doctor. They said, "Oh, well, he doesn't have anything. He's not sick." And then we took him to the ER because he started spiking like 103 fever. So we took him to the ER, and our copay for the ER was like $750. Well, they sent it to insurance. Insurance came back and said, "Well, we're going to charge them $750. Just send them your cash price." And the cash price was like $380. So Krista Santa Rosa sent us a $380 bill, and I'm like, "Wait, is this with our insurance?" And I called them, and she's like, "No, it's without the insurance. Like that's our cash price." And I'm like, "So Blue Cross Blue Shield was going to bill me $750,
Yeah.
and you guys are like, "No, we'll save you the headache and just bill you less."
It's crazy.
The system's
how
broken. Absolutely.
It is broken.
That is. I mean, to me, that's just astronomically broken.
Yeah.
Especially when we're paying like $1,600 a month to have health insurance. And even like private businesses, and you guys might experience this. Maybe not John so much because y'all probably have a group plan.
We do. Yeah,
But-
it's a group loop.
But I mean, the smaller your group, the more expensive it is.
Oh, it's still expensive.
But
I mean,
also-
it's in the mid six figures to insure everybody.
But like your employees at your insurance group play an impact or have an impact on what your premiums will be.
Yes, they do, and at the end of the day, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
It's like we need to make sure that they stay healthy, and we need to make sure that they have something, even though it is broken. It's like
You still have to play the game,
You
Right.
say-
or they suffer.
That whole
Yeah.
insurance industry.
I mean,
Shared
I do
risk.
P&C insurance.
But I mean, for somebody like me who's self-employed, like it's just me, I can't get access to PPO plans unless they're super private and they're with non-name groups. So we got to go through like HMO plans through the insurance marketplace.
Yeah.
And those things are starting off at like $1,200 a month for 3 people.
They all suck.
And they
Yeah.
suck.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
It's high deductible, high premium.
but like
It's not usable.
it's
right?
very,
Yeah.
it's not.
It's major medical only.
Yeah, but in the same breath, it's like, I mean, if I broke it down to individual on our PPO, it costs my wife and myself about $1,700 a month.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's about what I pay out of pocket.
Plus
you know
your
what I mean?
deductible and your co-insurance
Yeah.
and your
And so it's not
costs.
so it's a benefit for the employees because we're covering the employee almost 100%, right?
Right.
So, and that's kind of like, hey, come if you're a good insurance agent, come work at my insurance group. But I mean that's one of the benefits that we provide for the
Right.
employee, right? But it still costs us every bit of $600 and something bucks per employee,
person.
and it does suck when they add their spouse and their kids because we're not paying for spouses and kids, and it's like
That's really expensive.
yeah, and it ends up being several $1,000s out of their paycheck every month.
Right.
And it's just like, well, I mean, I'm not like I got to worry about you. You worry about your spouse and kids. So it's not that awesome of a deal, guys. But
MyInsuranceGroup.com.
but no, I mean you have to offer something like that, and you don't expect the employee to cover so legally you have to cover at least 50% of it anyways.
I think so, yeah.
But
Thanks, Obama.
Well, and that's kind of why I was going down, through that was if you didn't have health insurance with bills that were passed, it was you were going to be fined if you didn't have health insurance.
Since I mentioned Obama,
Smobama.
Wait, no. I wanted to keep talking about this for a second. I don't want to talk about
I heard something yesterday. Is that possible? Is
I
this
thought he
possible?
was in the UK meeting with somebody.
Well, so
Is that what you saw?
No. So basically, here's the current theory being floated around. So Kamala Harris is now the presumptive nominee, but nobody seems to like Kamala. So what if they put Barack Obama as our vice president, which is legal, because he would not be elected as president, and then a few months down the road, Kamala bows out. Oh, I've strained my voice. I can no longer serve as president. We now have Barack Obama serving a third term legally. What would that do to the voter pool going, I could vote for Kamala and Barack? Very interesting theory.
We take back the White House from crooked Joe Biden and Kamala. I call her Laughing Kamala.
And have we seen Joe Biden in a few weeks?
No, not since he came out. He was like, "Look, guys, I can't talk after 8 o'clock.
I can't.
It's too late. I'm tired."
So I listened to the Charlie Kirk podcast or watch his show. Not saying that I believe everything that's spit out of
just 90% of it.
Yeah.
Just about 98% of it. The other 2%, I mean, I'm pretty neutral. Like, if I see something on Fox, I will go and check it on CNN to see kind of like the differences in reporting. Like when the whole thing with Trump happened, one person said he fell off the stage. The other person was like, no, he was shot. And I'm like, okay, this is a little aggressively far. Saying somebody fell when they were in actuality shot. like come on.
Allegedly shot.
Allegedly shot.
There's a photo of the bullet go.
You know what just grinds my gears?
Oh, Peter Griffin.
But the fact that San Antonio Express News, I get the Sunday paper because I'm old school, right? I like getting the Sunday.
What's
paper.
that subscription like? $5.99 now?
No, it's about $25 a month or something like that.
Is that for your dogs to pee on?
It's a fire starter.
I don't
for
know.
the
There's just something
barbecue.
about
We
getting
have birds,
Like
right?
so. Well, I used to get it every day, and it was just too much. There was too much paper. But I still do the Sunday. But it kind of like made me think like, man, I need to just cancel this subscription because that happened Saturday. It wasn't even on the front page, and you're just kind of like.
That's pretty major news.
It's super big news, and I get that San Antonio doesn't like them, right? Like as a whole, but that was kind of a major thing. And how you're not going to put that on the front page of our news because there wasn't any more news that was more newsworthy than that, you know. And you're just kind of like, maybe I don't need to subscribe to this paper anymore.
See, but you got to put you got to put yourself in the mindset of. If had it been the other party,
oh my lordy,
you can guarantee it would have been on like Donkey Kong, and there would have been riots in the streets and fire burnings happening everywhere.
I mean, isn't that the problem though, right? The problem is all of the media or most of like the media that people consume is just heavily slanted one way.
It is.
And so people think it's objective, right? And they think that they're getting news that they used to get, but they're not. Everything is an opinion piece.
Yeah, we used to get news. Now we get opinions.
Now it's
And
opinions.
the problem, and this is why I don't like talking about it very much, is it's literally every time I start reading anything, I start thinking that it's
a lie.
Two sides of the same coin. It's two wings of the same bird, right?
Right.
Like you got some nut jobs over on the left and some nut jobs over on the right, and you're just kind of like, man, like there's no good options anymore.
Well, what's funny though is like at one of Trump's speeches, he acknowledged that. Like he said, there's very far right people. He's like, who I don't want to associate myself with. And then you have crazy far left people. It's like there is nothing really in the middle except for RFK, who actually did a speech when Biden said he was withdrawing his candidacy, and said now there's only one party, and that was him. But I don't know that I can take serious somebody who can barely speak, unfortunately, because I mean he does have a disease that causes his voice to crackle and make all noises. Kind of sounds like this. You can barely hear him. But I don't know. I mean, the world is in turmoil right now. We need better leadership. Our leadership is nowhere to be found or seen. And there's a lot of conspiracy out there saying he may no longer be. Like,
we shall see.
We shall see in the coming days. I mean, if it goes another week without seeing him, I bet people start asking questions. Like more people start saying, "Hey, where's..."
Instead of just a tweets.
Yeah. Hey, where's
X's.
Joe? Well, it's funny.
Joe's fine.
I mean, that's a pretty
Yeah.
major announcement to just
Just a
tweet
tweet.
out Sunday morning, like, "Oh, hey guys, and by the way,
Yeah.
I'm not able to do this anymore."
I
Like, what?
can.
Jill says I can resign now.
Yeah. or Barack told me I have to resign now.
But honestly, that debate was pretty bad.
Pretty bad?
I mean, that
Dude,
was,
it was awful.
that was
Beat Medicare.
So, and there's hundreds of clips of him over the last 4 years that are awful, but they're just clips, right? Where it's like he messed up and he lost his train of thought in that one particular, speech, and then it's like he got sort of back on track. But that debate was like, wow, he never got it. He didn't have a track. He was just.
I mean, 75 minutes of the 90 minutes, he was wandering in the woods somewhere.
Well, but Kamala's not much better. I mean, she has what Charlie Kirk calls his word salad, where she puts a lot of big intellectual words together and tries to make it sound good. But if you actually pay attention to it, it makes no sense.
I have a hard time following her when she talks. And
Why,
she
'cause-
like speaks and it just like because she does word salad and cackles and I'm like, what? I don't really know what's happening right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to like read.
There's
Recap.
a TikTok channel dedicated and devoted to politicians, and they essentially like clip their videos together, like a bunch of speeches. And Kamala had one where she literally said the same statement rephrased 3 times back to back. Like she said it one way in the first sentence, a second way in the second sentence, and a third way in the third sentence. And you're like, holy crap, like what the fuck is going
let's
on?
get her the codes for the nukes.
But
right?
that's about
let's make
most
her
of
in
them.
charge.
It's about most of them.
I got another Trump point. So, like the guy or hate the guy, he just got shot, and he's brave enough to stand up and fight.
He's a billionaire. He should be kicking it on in
should
one
at
of
the
his
beach or one of the resorts.
like, but he's still out fighting.
That takes a lot of courage. If you've ever been shot at,
So
it takes a lot of
I
courage.
don't doubt that Donald Trump loves America.
He's an ass.
He's
But everybody at that level is.
But I think he's a little more assy-ish now. He got shot at. He's kind of a little more humble.
I mean,
We'll see.
The thing I challenge people all the time that talk about Donald Trump is go through and if you looked at what he did on paper, and you didn't know that it was him doing it, most people would be like excited about the whole list,
Why would
right?
you
You
just
put
shut
his
up?
name at the top, and then it's over. Like, oh, this is all bad now.
well, so again, it's not so much what he's like between the two evils, right? Okay, cool. We might go that way, but it's also just the fact that it's super divisive, and his rhetoric has always been super divisive. And I don't think he can help himself. It's always going to be divisive.
His rhetoric when he took
But
and got into politics.
even after the assassination, I watched that, and again, I'm not saying that there's anybody better for the job either, but I'm like, man, like I'm also not gonna put a Band-Aid on my ear, you know?
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna drink the Kool-Aid all the way because it's divisive, a lot of what he says, and I feel like we should have some type of leader that wants to not divide everything.
Because don't most people want the same thing, right? Like
Right.
all the people I
98%
talk to,
want the same stuff,
no
yeah.
matter you can be extreme on the right or the left, but you just go down to everybody wants the same thing, right? They
Right.
want a better life for their kids. They want to be left alone. They want to be able to make their own way in the world.
Everybody wants free will.
85-90% of us want term limits in the Senate, and that's not going to happen. I mean, just like
Isn't that proposed in like Project 2025 or something? That
I think, yes.
I think they have term limits in there, and yeah, I mean, I was just watching something on it the other day and just grabbed the gist of it. Didn't really go too deep into it, but a lot of politicians from the left are like, if this goes through and the Republicans take the House this November, we may never see another Democratic leader in the House, and blah 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 blah. So I'm like, well, I don't know about that, but there are term limits proposed.
I would like to see term limits. I would also like to see all those people use the same health insurance we have to use.
Amen, brother.
Yeah.
That would be really nice because
There's special
I bet
carve-outs.
that shit would get fixed fast. It's like, well, that's retarded. I just had a stomach bug and I just had to pay $3,000 because I'm using this health insurance plan.
My biggest pet peeve with politicians and politics has always been that you see where these people start out, and then by the end of their careers in politics, where they're ending. It's like they go from making $100,000 a year to now they're multimillionaires. They got, I think Obama to speak when he left the house, they were paying like $400,000 or $500,000 every time he would speak at a public event, and you had school districts hiring this guy to go speak at their events. And I'm like, why is the school district spending money on that?
It's supposed to be public service.
It's exactly.
Public service.
Exactly.
You're supposed to do your job and then go home.
And they make more money than somebody with a degree, yet they advocate for people to go get degrees. And it's just like, come on. But the world is in turmoil right now.
We've lost our way.
We've lost our way. And I watched a military lady. She was a staff sergeant, I believe, or sergeant, some pretty high ranking. And she basically
staff sergeant's not high.
Not high, but I'm not. I mean,
what are those? She was like a private or something super awesome.
She was a P1 or P2,
not high.
She was a P1 or P2.
She was flying first class.
She was. I don't know. I say that because I don't know technically
a
what she
corporal
was.
or something awesome.
But I mean, she hit it on the head. Like, she basically had this elaborate speech about how, America has lost its way since we've taken religion out of schools and we've taken prayer out of homes, and
now you've done it. The helicopters
things
are
like
coming.
that. Like, there was already a drone flying outside the studio.
All right.
we might want to be careful, but yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense. The kids acting up nowadays, being raised, because it all starts within the household. Like, everything starts in the household. Starts in how you raise that little muchachita for the Espanol speakers here in San Antonio. But aside from politics, I came across this company or organization called Enhanced Games, and it really got my sparks burning because I think it's a cool idea and concept. But the idea is to have international sports competitions that will allow every athlete to use PEDs.
Love it.
Which, if you don't know what a PED is, it's a performance enhancing drugs.
Steroids.
Man, we are about to get some badass shows.
No, we won't. It'll be the same thing that we get now, but it'll just be the guys won't be hiding it.
I don't know,
right?
man. I don't know, because if you you're gonna get some wild record-breaking things in the even though most of those guys do blood doping in the Tour de France and all the other stuff, and they just hide it pretty well.
How is blood doping against the rules? It's your blood. You take your blood out,
and you put it back
and
in.
then you put your blood back in, and they're like, no.
Well, they think they're cleaning the blood.
It's just adding oxygen to it, right? But it's your blood. You just took it out and put it back.
No, but I'm just saying, but if you let those guys get some performance-enhancing drugs in them, you're like, holy shit, Lance Armstrong, eat your heart out, bro. They are breaking some records.
But why wouldn't we allow for that?
I'm aware that he was on the sauce. He wasn't on the best sauce, though. Because you give them some good sauce, we're going to get some world-breaking records.
So in
sports we want to watch.
Exactly.
Their studies.
Who doesn't want home runs?
Yeah. I mean, we can go back to the Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire days.
Again, dude, I love home runs. It's hard to hit the home run. I don't care how much steroids you do.
Yeah.
That thing is hard to hit.
A little stick in that ball.
Dude, that thing's going like 100 miles an hour.
I would rather watch bombs be hit 500 feet than watch a pitcher's duel.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, who has 3.5 hours to go out there and watch a score 0-0?
They're playing catch.
They're playing catch.
But in all sports, they keep doing things to protect the athlete, right? Like basketball, now everything is a foul. It used to be really physical. They keep doing the same thing in football. So why not add this?
Bring back spearing.
They've already added all these protections for the players.
Well, and the idea also is that there's a study that shows that 44% of athletes already use performance-enhancing drugs in professional sports. So when I was listening to them to the talk, because they were on the Joe Rogan podcast, which is how I came across them. But
is he our competitor?
No, he's our homie.
He's one of us.
He's one of us. But he mentioned, that like these athletes are so well trained that even though they're using performance enhancing drugs, they know like the byproducts of the products that they're taking, and is going through loopholes already. So. In the United States Federation, whoever controls like the Olympics, I forget the organization name, they answer to nobody. They make their own rules, and now they're so far up these athletes' asses trying to get to see what they're using that it's just making sports unentertaining. You watch a football game nowadays, everything is a flag. You can't tackle the court. There's no more hip tackling. Like you can't drag a quarterback down by his hips anymore.
I think we've talked about this before. Yeah. I want to just see some messed up tackles. It's like, dude, you guys get paid millions of dollars a year. It sucks. Your career is going to be over. But I want to see some helmets break.
That's why they're paid the big bucks, right?
The modern day gladiators.
Yeah, I just want to see some shit happen, man.
I mean, it's like the Scottie Pippen Jordan days. Like you watch clips from when like the 95 up, where basketball players are being like elbow checked and like literally clotheslined as they're going to the hoop. And nowadays, you barely like touch LeBron's shorts.
You breathe on
him, blowing his ear or something. He's like, "Oh, that's a foul."
Yeah.
But
so, do you think if they did that and they started allowing it, that it would change who's good and in the sport, right? Because if 44% of them are using it now, that means the people that aren't. Like
really
if they
good.
started using it, you'd be like, "Oh, we'd have a new top 10 best players in every sport, right?" It'd be the people that weren't doing it before.
Yeah, I mean the problem that the enhanced games guys are trying to solve for is that like the 5 categories that they have, and I didn't name them all up there, but they had track, swim, combat. There's a couple there's 2 other ones that I can't think of the names right now, but the idea is that like in combat you would have professional boxing and you would have MMA is their thought process. And like Joe Rogan says, is like, how would you convince people to leave Bellator and UFC to go to enhanced games, which is probably a one-time international tournament, to be there, because now they can't go back, being that they're on PEDs.
I think the point of advanced games is to like progress all of sports into going that way. So you would just hope that people liked it so much that they would change rules or regulations and
I think
allow
it'd be cool if you had like the MLB and then MLB plus PED, like the
MLB PED.
The 2 teams go at World Series.
That's who needs PEDs is MLB, right?
Yeah,
Let's see the home runs, right?
I like some humdingers.
Yeah.
And it's super sad that like we put asterisks next to all these guys' names. It's like, man, let Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame. I don't care how much steroids he did. I don't care if it's HGH, whatever trend, whatever he took. It's like, let the guy in.
Yeah.
He hit some humdingers, man.
And
Mark McGuire hit a bunch of humdingers. I mean, let the guys in.
What about Sammy Sosa?
Sammy Sosa was pretty badass too.
He's super good for the sport.
Yeah.
I mean, Sosa went under the table for a long time, a lot longer than...
It made me want to watch baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah, the home run derbies and the contests and breaking the records.
I mean, for Pete's sake, the NFL went to flag football for All-Star Week. I think it is.
Which I did not watch.
Which I did not watch either.
And I've watched a lot of them.
Yeah.
I'm not watching that.
Now it's a flag football. I mean, the dynamics of the earth and the world is changing though too. Like kids are now following YouTubers, so that's why these sports are bringing in like these massive YouTubers, because everything's in a digital age now.
But let me ask you this: you have kids.
Yeah.
Have they broken any bones?
No.
Broken any bones?
No. Falling, hurt
come
themselves.
on! That's part of being a kid, is breaking some bones.
I broke my arm like 5 different
I
times.
broke this one twice. This one once. I got broken ribs, broken nose.
I mean,
5 concussions.
Rollerblades, bicycle, wrestling, spring training football.
I have a 12-year-old, and we schedule outside time because he wouldn't go outside if not. But I'm like, no. I'm going to lock you out of the house for the next 90 minutes. Take your bike and go do something.
My kids have no stitches, no broken bones.
Your kids
nothing.
don't?
Yeah, no, it makes me sad.
You got to kick them out of the house. They got to...
I mean, my son he's a little daredevil. He's adventurous. So I mean,
There's still hope.
We live out so our street. There's a huge hill, and it's like every day for like 2 hours he'll be out there on his scooter. I mean, he wears his helmet and his elbow pads, and he just bombs it down. He bombs it down the hill, dude. Like he's just like,
We probably had like 10 bikes in the house, not one helmet.
That's what I'm saying. No.
I mean. Yeah, medical bills weren't as expensive either.
Right. That is true.
It's very true. That emergency room visit was probably like $100.
It was funny though, because I would every sport, it seemed like when I was a teenager, I'd end up at the ER, and so the ER doctor and my dad, he's like, "I'll see you next season," because I tore my knee up one year, I broke my arm, and then I broke my hand, and he's just like, "All right, see you next season."
See, but sports back in I think our generation, like that early 2000s was the last years of that, like of aggressive sports, of kids being kids. Like, I mean, the stupid crap we used to do as a kid, like kneeboarding in the middle of the street behind a Bronco with fucking with shoulder pads on and a football helmet because the street's flooded.
Oh, I did a bunch of stupid stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have some scars on my hands for letting bottle rockets off on my.
Roman candle wars. Didn't do that.
He was running with the American flag and had bottle rockets strapped to his hips.
All right, sadly, I think we need to end it.
Wrap it.
Unfortunately. John, do it.
Next week.